friends, well, here is my first I Awake New Year's missive, and I've really not been looking forward to writing this or reading this. This morning in my meditation, I was desperately praying and wondering what I could say that is honest and reflects this new world we are emerging into. The phrase that came to me is the title of a great Bob Dylan song, "Everything is Broken." If you haven't heard the song, please check it out on YouTube or re-listen to it if it's a part of your collection. So what is broken? Let me start with what is nearest to my heart as an American. Our democracy is broken. Again, we have a president who was elected by a minority of those who voted because of some strange, archaic, convoluted electoral process that has not been emulated by any other democracies in the world. We have elected a man who is a self-confessed sexual predator, locker room talk or not, who's been accused by a multitude of women of doing just what he brags about doing. So at best, he is a braggart and a liar. And most probably, he is a liar and a sexual predator. Every therapist I've talked to and trained as a therapist, myself, I concur, says that he is clearly a narcissistic personality, which basically means he has no capacity to take any other perspective than his own. To a narcissist, no one has any value whatsoever other than a support system for his inflated ego. This man will be in charge of the world's most powerful economy and military, the most powerful the world has ever known. During the election, he claimed that he would throw Hillary Clinton in jail after he was elected, and that he would bring home Edward Snowden and execute him for treason, with no apparent understanding that U.S. presidents don't get to throw their political opponents in prison, and that Snowden must be tried for treason and not simply executed at the whim of the president. The Republicans are rallying to destroy the Affordable Care Act, which, while flawed, did give insurance to 20 million Americans who never had it before. So are we to return to the profit-driven healthcare system whose main purpose is to maintain the financial health of insurance companies, big pharma, hospitals, and doctors? Something is desperately wrong here. Some things should not be driven by profit. And at the risk of sounding cliche, we made it to the moon. I think we can figure out how to provide health care for all our citizens, cradle to grave. Our political system has become so divisive and shattered that there seems to be no way it can be healed. I place the blame largely, but not exclusively, on the right-wing propaganda machine that broadcasts and manipulates 24/7. On the radio and on television, I watched firsthand the effects of this type of ongoing propaganda barrage on people whom I love and care about. They became scared, angry, and seemed to lose their capacity to think or reason for themselves. How do we control this kind of high-tech brainwashing, given the First Amendment that guarantees freedom of speech? I don't know, but we have to figure it out. There must be some standards of decency and honesty applied to public discourse and broadcasting. Recently, while residing in Monroe, Louisiana, I crossed the river into West Monroe and took a wrong turn, or maybe it was a correct turn, and drove through miles and miles of impoverished white neighborhoods. It was really rather shocking. Pam and I live in a county that has been identified as the poorest in Utah for many years, yet we did not see this degree of poverty that I witnessed in Louisiana. So it's not just poor blacks, poor Mexican, poor immigrants, but also poor white people. What are we going to do about this? I think the current thinking is to bring back the factories and start another industrial revolution. We will see. One of the problems in this new high-tech economy is that we have all this labor-saving and generative technology. Not that many good-paying jobs are being produced, not with a wage level that will allow people to live in dignity, which means you can have a home, you can have medical care, you can take care of your children, you can retire, you can go on an occasional vacation, the American dream. It bothers me that I Awake, while we have a brilliant product that seems to be helping tens of thousands of people all over the planet, we have created only one job in the town I live in and a handful more in other countries. Because when we create a new I Awake track, after all the basic work, design, testing, research, marketing, letting you guys know about it, we can reproduce it infinitely without requiring any new employees. As a CEO and hopefully as a good and decent man, this really disturbs me. In Buddhist terms, we used to say that nobody is enlightened until everyone is enlightened. As a Christian, you could perhaps say that no one is saved until we all are saved. As a democratic, mature human beings, perhaps we can say nobody is wealthy until we all are wealthy. So what does this mean? I think that at some point we're going to have to figure out how to share the wealth with all human beings, and I might add, all sentient beings, because we did not get here by ourselves. I think this may mean a guaranteed income for every American, which again allows everyone to live in dignity. Well, would that not create a bunch of lazy people? Maybe, but probably not. Human beings have an innate desire to achieve, accomplish, and give back. We need to create a system whose main goal is not to protect the wealth of the 1%, but to allow authentic happiness for all of our people, from cradle to grave. What does that mean? Well, it definitely means more than handing out a paycheck to everyone every month. That is certainly not enough, as our often broken, maligned, and abused welfare system has shown. We need to have a system whose goal is life, liberty, happiness, and its pursuit. It means we're going to have to work and strive towards making health in all 4 quadrants available to everyone. Now here come the quadrants. Number 1, first, the upper left quadrant, in this case the physical body, healthy food, exercise, lifelong health care, and a culture built on vitality and physical excellence. 2, we have to have a system that works toward health in the upper left quadrant, the interior life of each individual. This means emotional, intellectual, spiritual health and development as a lifetime journey, goal, and process. I believe with the help of iAwake and others who are working in the transformational tech field, this particular goal in the upper left quadrant is becoming absolute possibility for most of us. 3, we need health in the lower left communal quadrant, which means we need to be able to relate, support, appreciate, respect, and love one another, whether we are black, brown, white, yellow, red, or any permutation thereof, whether we are gay or straight or somewhere in the middle, no matter if we are Christian, Jewish, Muslim, agnostic, atheist, Buddhist, Hindu, etc. We must take the admonitions and the directives of the great world spiritual traditions and realize that the ultimate ground of being is love, and that we are directed, commanded, encouraged, and created to love everyone and all things. We need to clean our souls, our egos, and the doors of our perception, and to get back to the basic understanding of what it means to be part of the human family. Finally, we must have health in the lower right quadrant. This means the air, the water, the forest, the oceans, rivers, grass, and trees, and all the other both magnificent and humble creatures with whom we share this beautiful planet. If we have to rewrite a new constitution based on current world conditions and those to come, I say, so be it. The Founding Fathers gave us basic principles and inspiration and showed us what a few good men could do to change the world. Well, it's time for another revolution, apparently, where good men and women can come together and ask, what are the guiding principles and the rules that we need to follow in order to ensure happiness and dignity for all people and the generations to come? What does this mean for me today? It means I have to continue to work dedicatedly and heroically to perfect my imperfect self, so that I may be a participant and an instrument of the revolution that needs to happen if we are not to descend into a dystopic future of authoritarianism, totalitarianism, and military, racist, and religious dictatorships, or total revolution and anarchy as the have-nots rise up against the haves and blood runs in our streets. Everything is broken and needs fixing. We need reimagining, rebalancing, transmutation, transparency, and transcendence. Are we going to do it? It seems to be the call we have been given. So let us recommit ourselves to our own waking up, showing up, cleaning up, and growing up process that can only be accomplished with dedication and heroic practice to heal, transform, and enlighten our bodies, souls, and minds with the creativity, intelligence, compassion, and courage that these times require of us. Do not sink into despair. Do not give in to the sin of cynicism, but open up to the challenges and the darkness of these times. For in that, and only in that, will we find the light. There is also much that yet remains unbroken. So let us preserve what is good. Let us seek out what is best in us. Let us reach across the walls that separate us with kindness, humility, and compassion for what must be repaired, what must be dissolved, what must be strengthened, and what must be newly evolved. With love, John and the iAwake team.